Hello students, today we will do chapter 6, The Making of a Scientist from your book Footprints Without Feet. This chapter is written by Robert W. Peterson. Before starting with the chapter, let me give you a brief introduction of what the chapter is all about. This chapter is an account of the achievements of the great scientist Richard H. Ebright when he was a growing student. He was interested in collecting butterflies, rock fossils, and coins. He had a constant support of his mother, who took him on trips and bought various things for him. His interest in science began with a failure and his later understanding of how real science is all about real experiments and not a neat display. Afterwards, he experimented on various things. He won various awards and was also able to discover a hormone that monarch pupa, which is a species of butterfly, produces for its full development. And this study helped him find how cells read their DNA. He had all the other qualities also. For example, he was a good speaker, a debater, and a photographer, and these were the things which were adding stars to his personality. So, dear students, this lesson is the journey of a scientist, his constant hard work that could fetch him great opportunities and make him win different awards. So, Richard Ebright has received the Cyril Scholar Award and the Schering-Plough Award for Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, and it was his fascination for butterflies that opened the world of science to him. So now let us start with the chapter. Read and find out. How did a book become a turning point in Richard Ebright's life? How did his mother help him? This we will study now. At the age of 22, a former Scout of the Year excited the scientific world with a new theory on how cells work. Richard H. Ebright and his college roommate explained the theory in an article in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. What is Proceedings of the National Academy of Science? This is PNAS, name of a scientific journal. And it was the first time this important scientific journal had ever published the work of college students. In sports, that would be like making of the big leagues at the age of 15 and hitting home run your first time at bat. For Richard Ebright, it was the first in a long string of achievements in science and other fields. And it all started with butterflies. So students, here we see that Richard got success at the very young age. The article of Richard and his friend was published in the scientific journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, that is PNAS. And at that time he was only 22 years old. And it was a great honor for Richard. He was also being recognized as the former Scout of the Year. Because when he was in the school, he would have had the training in NCC and Scout and was awarded with the former Scout of the Year award. So it was the first time that the research work of college students was published, so it was a great honor for Richard. In sports terminology, that would be like making the big leagues. That is like in cricket, if we have sixes or fours. In baseball, home run is the achievement. So this comparison has been done just to show that it was a great honor, a great achievement for Richard to get his article published in PNAS. An only child, Ebright grew up north of Reading, Pennsylvania. There wasn't much I could do there, he said. I certainly could not play football or baseball with a team of one, but there was one thing I could do: collect things. Because Richard Ebright was all alone, so he says that it was not possible for me to play football or baseball with a team of one. So, one thing that he could do was to collect the things, and so he did, and did he ever. Beginning in kindergarten, Ebright collected butterflies with the same determination that has marked all his activities. He also collected rocks, fossils, and coins, and he became an eager astronomer too, sometimes stargazing all night. So, here we have seen that Richard, he is a collector. Since his childhood, he has been collecting the things, and he was the only child of his parents. He grew up at Reading. It's a place in Pennsylvania, USA, and because he had no one to play with, so he started collecting things like rocks, fossils, and coins, and gazing at stars and collecting butterflies were also his hobbies. From the first, he had a driving curiosity along with a bright mind. He also had a mother who encouraged his interest in learning. She took him on trips, bought him telescopes, microscopes, cameras, mounting materials, and other equipment, and helped him in many other ways. So, here we have seen that Richard Ebright's mother very well knew that her son is a curious child. So, his mother was his only companion. She only was constantly encouraging him. She was constantly with him, and she would take him on trips and bought him telescopes and other equipment. And I was his only companion until he started school, his mother said, and after that I would bring home friends for him, but at night we just did things together. Richie is the nickname of Richard. She says that Richie was my whole life. After his father died, when Richie was in third grade. So Richie is the nickname of Richard Ebright, and his father died when he was in third grade. She and her son spent almost every evening at the dining room table. If he didn't have things to do, I found work for him, not physical work but learning things. His mother said he liked it. He wanted to learn, because I have told you that she very well knew that her son is a curious child, and it was the curiosity which was the driving force in Richard Ebright. So whenever she would always be giving the learning things to Richard Ebright rather than giving any of the physical works. So she found work to challenge him and helped him to learn even more. And learn he did. He earned top grades in school. On everyday things, he was just like every other kid, his mother said. By the time he was in the second grade, Ebright had collected all 25 species of butterflies found around his hometown. Here you can see that there is a box. In this box we can see species and subspecies of butterflies, and which was collected in 6 weeks in Reading, a place in Pennsylvania in USA. And that probably would have been the end of my butterfly collecting, he said. But then my mother got me a children's book called The Travels of Monarch X. Monarch X is the species of butterfly. That book, which told how monarch butterflies migrate to Central America, opened the world of science to the eager young collector. Who is the young collector here? Richard Ebright. And now we see that his mother has brought a book for him, that is The Travels of Monarch. And through this book, when this book he got, then he wanted to gather even more informations. And because this book was about how monarch butterflies migrate to Central America. So this reading of a children's book titled The Travels of Monarch X inspired him, and then he became interested in the world of science. At the end of the book, readers were invited At the end of the book, readers were invited to help study butterfly migrations, and they were asked to tag butterflies for research by Dr. Frederick A. Urquhart of the University of Toronto, Canada. Ebright's mother wrote to Dr. Urquhart, and soon Ebright was attaching light adhesive tags to the wings of monarchs. Anyone who found a tagged butterfly was asked to send the tag to Dr. Urquhart. What is tagging means? Tagged here means to attach small stickers on the wings of the butterfly. So this book asked the readers to study butterfly migrations, and Richard then came in contact with the scientist Dr. Urquhart through this book, and who further influenced him greatly. The butterfly collecting season around Reading lasts 6 weeks in the late summer. We can see the graph below here. If you are going to chase them one by one, you won't catch very many. So the next step for Ebright was to raise a flock of butterflies. He would catch a female monarch, take her eggs, and raise them in his basement through their life cycle, from egg to caterpillar to pupa to adult butterfly. These are the 4 stages of development in the life cycle of the butterfly. Then he would tag the butterfly's wings and let them go. So for several years, his basement was home to thousands of monarchs in different stages of development. So dear students, Richard started with the process which including raising monarch butterflies. Richard decided to raise butterflies at home just to study their migration pattern. So he would catch a female monarch and take her eggs. He would watch all the stages of development of the butterfly. Then he would tag their wings and free them, and he did it for many years and raised thousands of butterflies in the basement of his home. And in the box you can see that there are so many number and kinds of butterflies which were collected in 6 weeks, and it was in the butterfly collecting season which was being done. So eventually I began to lose interest in tagging butterflies. It's tedious and there is not much feedback, Ebright said, in all the time I did it. So later he realized that it is a very tedious task, and there was not much feedback also, so he started losing interest in tagging the butterflies. One of the reasons was, he laughed, he says, only 2 butterflies I had tagged were recaptured, and they were not more than 75 miles from where I lived. Then in the 7th grade, he got a hint of what real science is when he entered a county science fair and lost. It was really a sad feeling to sit there and not getting anything while everybody else had won something, Ebright said. His entry was slides of frog tissues which he showed under a microscope, and he realized the winners had tried to do real experiments, not simply make a neat display. Already the competitive spirit that drives Richard Ebright was appearing. I knew that for the next year's fair I would have to do a real experiment, he said. The subject I knew most about was the insect work I had been doing in the past several years. So this is the experience of Richard Ebright which he had in the county science fair. When Richard displayed his slides of frogs at the county science fair but did not win any award. He realized at that time that he needed to carry out real experiments to win an award. So he wrote to Dr. Urquhart for ideas, and back came a stack of suggestions for experiments. Those kept Ebright busy all through high school and led to prize projects in county and international science fairs. So, as a result of his experiments, many experiments, he took suggestions from Dr. Urquhart in this regard, and as a result of his many experiments, he won many prizes at the county and international science fairs in the growing years. For his 8th grade project, Ebright tried to find the cause of a viral disease that kills nearly all monarch caterpillars every few years. Ebright thought the disease might be carried by a beetle. He tried raising caterpillars in the presence of beetles. I didn't get any real results, he said, but I went ahead and showed that I had tried the experiment, and this time I won. The next year, his science fair project was testing the theory that viceroy butterflies copy monarchs. So, Richard's 8th grade project. Richard tried to find the cause of a viral fever that kills thousands of monarch butterflies. He thought that a beetle may carry the virus that causes viral fever, and although this was not the case, but still he won a prize for this project. And the next year, his science fair project was testing the theory that viceroy butterflies copy monarchs. The theory was that viceroys look like monarchs because monarchs don't taste good to birds, and viceroys, on the other hand, do taste good to birds. So, the more they look like monarchs, the less likely they are to become a bird's dinner. Ebright's project was to see whether, in fact, birds would eat monarchs. He found that a starling would not eat ordinary bird food. It would eat all the monarchs it could get. So, Ebright said later research by other people showed that viceroys probably do copy the monarch, and this project was placed first in the zoology division and third overall in the county science fair. So here we see that Richard has won at the county science fair. Richard experimented on viceroy butterflies. He tried to prove that viceroys copy monarchs. Viceroys do it to protect themselves from the birds, as birds don't eat monarchs. The project won the first prize in the zoology division and overall third prize in the county science fair. In the second year in high school, Richard Ebright began the research that led to his discovery of an unknown insect hormone. Indirectly, it also led to his new theory on the life of cells. The question he tried to answer was very simple. What is the purpose of the 12 tiny gold spots on a monarch pupa? Everyone assumed the spots were just ornamental, Ebright said, but Dr. Urquhart didn't believe it. And to find the answer, Ebright and another excellent science students first had to build a device that showed that the spots were producing a hormone which is very much necessary for the butterfly's full development. And this project won Ebright first place in the county fair and entry into the International Science and Engineering Fair. There he won third prize for geology. He also got a chance to work during the summer at the entomology laboratory of the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. So here we find out that Richard had made a discovery of a hormone. Richard was very curious to know the reason behind 12 gold spots on the monarch pupa. He and his friends, what they did was that they built a device just to prove that the spots were producing hormone which is necessary for its development. And this project got him first prize in the county fair. So he also got a chance to enter the International Science and Engineering Fair where he got third prize for zoology in this fair. As a high school junior, Richard Ebright continued his advanced experiments on the monarch pupa. That year, his project won first place at the International Science Fair and gave him another chance to work in the Army laboratory during the summer. In his senior year, he went a step further. He grew cells from a monarch's wing in a culture and showed that the cells would divide and develop into a normal butterfly wing scales only if they were fed the hormone from the gold spots. And that project won first place for zoology at the International Fair. He spent the summer after graduation doing further work at the Army Laboratory and at the laboratory of the US Department of Agriculture. The following summer, after his freshman year at Harvard University, Ebright went back to the laboratory of the Department of Agriculture and did more work on the hormone from the gold spots. Using the laboratory's sophisticated instruments, he was able to identify the hormone's chemical structure. And a year and a half later, during his junior year, Ebright got the idea for his new theory about cell life. It came while he was looking at X-ray photos of the chemical structure of a hormone. So this is all about Richard's continuity in his research on a monarch pupa. So what Richard did was that he grew cells from the wings of a monarch butterfly, and he further proved that cells grow into scales of wings only when they are injected with the hormone from the gold spots. He carried on his work at the Army Laboratory and laboratory of the US Department of Agriculture. After his freshman year at Harvard, he returned to the laboratory of the Department of Agriculture to identify the chemical structure of hormone, and this gave him a new idea about cell life. So when he saw those photos, Ebright did not shout, "Eureka," or even "I have got it," but he believed that along with his findings about insect hormones, the photos gave him the answer to one of biology's puzzles: how the cell can read the blueprint of its DNA. DNA, deoxyribose nucleic acid, is the substance in the nucleus of a cell that controls heredity. It also determines the form and function of the cell. Thus, DNA is the blueprint for life. Ebright and his college roommates James R. Wong worked all that night drawing pictures and constructing plastic models of molecules to show how it could happen. Together, they later wrote the paper that explained the theory. So here we see that Richard is studying the cell's structure and DNA. So Richard's research on the hormone also gave him an idea. So he believed that his study could tell how cells read their DNA. He, along with his college roommate James R. Wong, worked on the idea. Then they wrote a paper explaining their theory. Surprising no one who knew him, Richard Ebright graduated from Harvard with highest honors, second in his class of 1510. And Ebright went on to become a graduate student researcher at Harvard Medical School, and there he began doing experiments to test his theory. If the theory proves correct, it will be a big step towards understanding the processes of life, and it might also lead to new ideas for preventing some types of cancer and other diseases. All of this is possible because of Ebright's scientific curiosity. His high school research into the purpose of the spots on a monarch pupa eventually led him to his theory about cell life. So this is all the Richard's glory at Harvard. Richard graduated with second position in a class with a strength of 1510 students. and he became a graduate student researcher as well, and he started experimenting to prove his new theory, and his theory may create new ways to prevent some types of cancers and other diseases. So Richard Ebright has been interested in science since he first began collecting butterflies, but not so deeply that he hasn't time for other interests. Ebright also became a champion debater and public speaker and a good canoeist and all-rounder outdoor person. He is also an expert photographer, particularly of nature and scientific exhibits. And in high school, Richard Ebright was a straight A student, and because learning was easy, he turned a lot of his energy towards the debating and model United Nations clubs. He also found someone to admire, Richard A. Wehrer, his social studies teachers and advisor to both clubs. Mr. Wehrer was the perfect person for me then. He opened my mind to new ideas, Ebright said. So we see that Richard was an all-rounder. He was not just a scientist. He was an all-rounder, and he was a good debater, a public speaker, a photographer, an outdoors person. So his social studies teacher praised him for all his work and for his will to work hard, to do his best, and also winning. Richard would always give that extra effort, Mr. Wehrer said. What pleased me was this person who put in 3 or 4 hours at night doing debate research besides doing all his research with butterflies and his other interests. Richard was competitive, Mr. Wehrer continued, but not in a bad sense. He explained Richard wasn't interested in winning for winning's sake or winning to get a prize. Rather, he was winning because he wanted to do the best job he could, and for the right reasons. He wants to be the best. So he says that Richard was a true scientist. He had all the qualities that made him a true scientist. He had the curiosity and he had a first-rate mind. He wanted to win only for the right reasons, and that is one of the ingredients in the making of a scientist. Start with a first-rate mind, add curiosity, and mix in the will to win for the right reasons. These are all the associative indicators that make a person a true scientist. So Ebright has all these qualities. From the time the book The Travels of Monarch opened the world of science to him, Richard Ebright has never lost his scientific curiosity. So dear students, here your chapter ends. We see the message of the chapter. It is very much clear. The lesson gives the story. The lesson gives the message that hard work always pays off. And in the chapter, as we have seen, that Richard was an exceptional child with rare qualities of intelligent observation and keen interest in the nature of things. The traits of his successful career were nurtured during his childhood itself, and these qualities are definitely desirable in every child, and the curiosity should never be curbed or discouraged. Providing logical answers to the queries goes a long way to develop a scientific way of thinking and problem solving. Children learn to analyze the things and come to logical conclusions, and thus is indeed the correct learning procedure. So, dear students, if one shows dedication, determination, success cannot be left behind. This is the message of the story. Till then, goodbye and have a great day ahead, students.